Right, let's take you back to our top story now. That story obviously followed by my colleagues Thales Similani and Siphamandla Goke at the Pietermaritzburg High Court, where the Thales and Zuma case has been set for trial. Thales, you were still telling us earlier on what happened in court today.
Yeah, Masiko, so this is a case that really has exhausted all of the cliches for journalists and scribes about, getting to that starting point of the trial. We've heard everything from D-Day, Zuma's date with destiny, and Zuma's day of reckoning. And this has been, mooted for a good 14 years now. This was 14 years ago in 2006 that actually the matter was derailed completely. It's now firmly back on track with that particular D-Day, as it is, set down now for the 17th of May this year. It is scheduled at the very least for 2 court terms and 217 witnesses. Take a listen to what the judge said at the end of what has been a contentious pre-trial period between the state and the defense, yet only to arrive here today, Masiko, and it took less than 10 minutes for this matter to actually be certified trial ready.
The matter is certified as trial ready in accordance with the Judge President's pre-trial criminal court hearings directive dated 7 November 2018. 2. The matter is postponed in absentia in respect of Mr. Zuma and the Thales representative to 17 May 2021 until 20 June 2021, being the end of term date for trial, and will again resume on the first day of the third term in KwaZulu-Natal, and any further dates that the Honorable Judge President, the Honorable Judge Presiding, and the Honorable Judge President may determine, subject to further clarity on the resumption of international travel under COVID-19 restrictions, which may affect witnesses and the Thales representative, Mr. Turan, from abroad. This order is dated and signed by the court.
So that's where we are. I'm joined by Siphamandla Goke, and Siphamandla, at long last, we can see the start line, right? But the journey to there perhaps is unlikely to be as dramatic as the journey we've had until now. But in terms of the real contestation on the facts of this matter, that's where it starts.
Indeed, at least we are getting somewhere now. It's taking off to Lasizwe. After many years, more than a decade, finally it will take off. It doesn't mean that come the 17th of May when it's set down for trial, it doesn't mean that there will be no issues, there will be no bickering. You may well have a trial within a trial during that period, but the most important thing, which is very significant, is that at least we are starting on the 17th of May. It's been a long road coming here to Lasizwe, and it's going to be a long road ahead for all parties involved, because this is going to be one of the longest trials in a post-democratic South Africa. Without a doubt,
Siphamandla, and we say that because, one, the complexity of the matter, right? These are crimes that stem from POCA, Prevention of Organized Crime Act, as well as the Corruption Act that was in place at that particular point. So issues of corruption and organized crime, the charges of racketeering. But also add to that, this is an old case where you're really digging the graves, as it were.
Indeed, it's very old, and it involves too many players here. We had inside court that more than 200 witnesses here, and in terms of the evidence, we are talking about volumes and volumes of evidence that will be brought in here inside the Pietermaritzburg High Court. So this case is not one of the easiest cases to take to trial for the state and all parties involved, by the way. This is one of the longest standing issues in South Africa, and surely moving forward, it's not a matter that will be wrapped up within a few months. Remember that whoever loses here still has the legal recourse to go all the way to the Supreme Court of Appeal and to the Constitutional Court of Appeal, or rather, to the highest court in the land, the Constitutional Court. Whether there are prospects of success in whoever is appealing, that's another matter. But even after this court has handed down the judgment, you still have a long way to go to see finality in this case.
Aesthetically, Siphamandla, today there wasn't much that was exciting for us inside visually, at least for the television cameras. Former President Jacob Zuma was not in, and neither was the representative for the company Thales. add to that, to the complexity you and I are talking about, the issue of COVID-19, it will be a feature, won't it?
Absolutely, and in court that was ventilated. It's a reality to Lasizwe. We don't know how this virus will behave. We have seen it behaving in a manner that is unpredictable. So you can have a situation whereby when this trial starts, and then maybe, just say maybe, you still have this virus with us, or let's say surely you will have the virus with us, but how it behaves, nobody knows. So other countries still have travel restrictions. You have witnesses who will be coming from abroad, particularly bearing in mind that the second accused here, the French arms company Thales, will have to be represented by individuals, even though it's a company, it's an entity, but you would need people to come into court to physically represent it, and there are witnesses that will be coming from abroad. Even here in South Africa, domestically, you don't know how the situation will be in terms of COVID-19. So all those factors need to be taken into account, and it was ventilated in court that, yes, for now, this is the plan. However, everything is dependent on COVID-19.
Who knows what will happen in terms of trying to contain the spread of the COVID-19. So that's how it's looking, Masego, at this particular point. The big news. I mean, the NPA had tried, Masego, to sort of downplay the significance of today. But I tell you now, I can tell you without fear of contradiction that today is a significant date. There were points in time when it looked like this matter will never come to a point where it's certified as trial ready, with all of the sides, all three sides, saying we are ready to rock and roll. So let's see what happens as we build up to the 17th of May. But also, let's see what happens politically, because the other layer of this complication is the politics around it, with former President Jacob Zuma and his supporters, how they fit in what's called the RET forces, the MKMVA, as well as his ordinary supporters in branches here in KwaZulu-Natal, a province whose politics is fractious at the best of times. What happens when former President Jacob Zuma has to drive in through the gates in front of me, through the streets here, and come in through the gates and get into the basement parking and sit in the dock here every day? How will that play out politically? We are in for some real legal and political drama.
Thank you very much. That's, of course, my colleague Thales Simelane. He was speaking to our other colleague, Sipamandla Goke. Now,